one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I'll note that all board members are present here this morning, and I'm going to start with the recognition of a longtime employee here, excuse me, who has decided to take his talents to the retirement role. So congratulations, Don DeSantis. On behalf of the entire board, we want to salute Don for your value and benefit you brought to this organization, most importantly, promoting fair, transparent, accurate elections. Don, where are you? Are you right there? Stand up, Don. Step, come on up there. Come up here, Don, would you please? I just want to acknowledge Don's achievement in the wealth of election administration knowledge by serving in the registration department back when microfiche was used. His journey through the agency includes serving in what was then the supply warehouse department. Now it's election support department. Don's managers and colleagues told him very hard as his own captain, demonstrated by his ability to secure and manage voting locations in the zone. And he is an ADA specialist for this agency. We only wish you continued good health and success in years coming on. Thank you. Sincere appreciation for all the efforts you've done on behalf of the Thank you. Okay. Thank you, folks. I'm going to move to approve the minutes from September 14th, 2021 meeting. If there's a second. Thank you, Mr. Montelesco. Any questions or comments? Hearing on all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All right. And we'll move right into the hearing. We have a protest hearing in regards to East Cleveland issue on November 3rd, 2020, presidential general election ballot. Thank you. I'm going to get some paperwork organized here. We have Mr. Brett Lawler present. Brett, why don't you tee this up for the board? You have received paperwork on it. I know the board members have read it. For purposes of our hearing,
Good morning, Ron Lawler, Business Services. The Board of Elections on August 28th validated a recompetition for needed value for East Cleveland Ward 2, and it was 136 valid signatures. On September the 3rd, the clerk of the East Cleveland filed that petition with us, and we certified it on the 14th. On September 22nd, we received a protest from Patricia Bohovic, indicating that she believes that 5 of our petitions should be validated because she has affidavits from signers stating that the circulator indeed was not the person that actually circulated, that another person did. We're asking you to validate those 5 petitions, and if we do that, then the petition goes below the required number of 104 signatures. There's about 101. Would ask that we remove the ballot. I believe that you know list of all the people that are here for the affidavit, and they can check. She got his citizens here, was the person that did allege is the person that
Okay, thank you, Mr. Lawler. We have Mr. Mussett here. Mr. Mussett, just for purposes of explaining to the audience, what's the burden of proof?
Thanks, Chairman. The burden is on the processors.
Okay, thank you. And is Miss Patricia Bolshak here? Why don't you approach it? Why don't you come up to this seat or this seat right there? First, how do you pronounce your name? Lahovia.
with an E at the beginning.
Blahoviak. Okay, thank you, Ms. Blahoviak.
And the correct title should be worried about such things.
Okay. Thank you. Why don't you introduce yourself? I'm going to put you on the oath, Ms. Blahoviak. You have brought the protest here, so the burden is on you to present to this board that sort of proof. We may interrupt you with questions. You can have witnesses if you like. And I know others want to testify. I know we're going to hear from the other side too. So everybody's going to be heard from before decisions are made in this matter. And I reserve the right for our board members to ask questions during this process. Questions will come up and they'll need answers to. So Ms. Blahoviak, you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, as you shall answer it to that. Okay, Doctor, please proceed.
Okay, for this recall petition, starting with the affidavit, which is totally outrageous, including saying that this county is responsible for increasing crime in Ward 2, when we know that not only in Ward 2, but throughout East Cleveland, Detroit, Chicago, and other major areas, we have increases in crime. The affidavit signature, as I mentioned in the previous email, I'm not sure whether you have, was taken to having a call at the city and brought Shea Madison. And the signature of Kelly Bright was not right. Even though it was not signed in the presence of Heather McCullough, and it was by Shea Madison. The circulation of the petitions was totally fraudulent. They were circulated by people other than Kelly Bright. If you notice, Kelly Bright is a blonde white person. Shea Madison is an African American with short hair. The signatures were then signed to by Kelly Bright, apparently, but again, the signature is not Shea Madison, who is the person who does it, and this really leaves us with a remainder of an inadequate number of signatures. Regardless of that, the fact that Shea Madison fraudulently circulated petitions that were then named as being received by Kelly Bright in itself should be sufficient to take her name off. This is just a means for Shea Madison to get on council. She attempted to become president of our neighborhood association, lost that election. She was appointed to city council, but when it came time for the election, she lost that election. This is just her way of trying to get around the actual election that she lost. Shea Madison is my neighbor. I've known her, she was about, I think 4 houses down from me. I could be off by 1 or 2. But this is the kind of reliability, or lack thereof, that I have expected from Shea Madison. And I do not feel that it is reasonable for her to be rewarded with another opportunity to become a council member.
Because Dr. Wojciak, I'm sorry to interrupt you. So what evidence do you have to support your allegations?
We have signatures, notarized signatures.
Are you referring, do you have any witnesses to testify on your behalf today?
Yes.
Who would that be? Okay, good. And Mr. Musson, can I ask a question? She brought the issue up of a notarized signature on city council. It's my understanding that doesn't have any role to play in today's hearing. Is that correct?
Correct, Mr. Chairman. That is true in the charter of East Cleveland.
Okay, so we're here specifically on the petition circulated today. All right. Thank
Just
you.
for your information, that clerk is no longer employed by the city.
Thank you. Who's your first witness, Mr. Dr. Wojciak?
Tony. Thank you.
Ma'am, do you raise your right hand, please? Do you swear to tell the whole truth, nothing but the truth that you share with God? Okay, why don't you spell your name and why don't you give us your name and address, and then this Dr. Blochair can ask you questions, or you can make a statement to them.
My name is Carol Tony. I live at 1777 Howell Avenue. And where's our person?
Well, Dr. Blochair, this is your case, okay? You're bringing the protest, so you should probably have your witnesses answer some questions.
Okay, so, did you sign the petition for the recall?
I did.
And who gave you that petition to sign?
Yes.
Jay Gaddison? Yes. And you're aware of Ms. Gaddison, did you see Ms. Gaddison present?
I saw her earlier. Okay.
There she is, yes. Okay, so she is the one who brought it. At that time, did you notice that there was a signature of who was circulating there?
I really know I wasn't all about it, but I was signing it.
So you didn't check to see whether Jay Gaddison signed it or maybe someone else's signature?
No. You
But,
signed it.
but it was definitely Jay Gaddison.
That was to my house.
Yes. And if you notice, if you have copies of the petition, Jay Gaddison did not sign any of the petitions as circulated. I should mention that we have other people who have ascertained that Jay Gaddison brought in the petitions. I would like to say that one did not want to sign the affidavit because of fear of retribution from Jay Gaddison. And another one who said that Jay Gaddison was the person who circulated the petition, said that since she does not support any legality, she did not want to sign an affidavit saying that Jay Gaddison was the circulator, in spite of the fact that she ascertained that Jay Gaddison was the circulator.
Ms. Tony, did you sign an affidavit?
Yes.
Okay, is your affidavit contained in the document you submitted, Dr. Blochair?
Yes, that's right.
And I'm going to kind of lean on Brett, I don't see it.
Number 22. Petition 22.
The
Is
petition,
that Helen Jones? Is that, what's her name?
ma'am, what's your name? Is it Tony?
T-O-N-E-Y. T-O-N-E-Y.
I don't see an affidavit. Did you submit an affidavit, Mrs. Blochair, on behalf of Ms. Tony?
Should be here, yes, I have to.
What was the last name again?
Tony,
T-O-N-E-Y.
The last name is Tony?
Yes.
I don't see any, I see a first one. Mr. Chairman, I feel the board,
Okay, it's Tony Gay.
There's a Tony Gay.
I have a double Tony for.
We don't have that.
Here,
It's still the Tony, petition number 22.
petition 2219 here, there is an affidavit. Linda just brought it. Okay, so we have proof that she signed the petition. We have proof that she's got an affidavit. There's an affidavit here, she's testified. Okay. All right, are there any other questions from Ms. Tony? Okay, you have another witness, Ms. Blochair?
thank you very much. Mr. Frank Fox?
That would be petition number 1.
Thank you, Brett.
Well, Mr. Fox, thank you very much for coming. Did you sign retirement?
Sir, could you, thank you, I'm just looking for his affidavit. And I don't see it. Okay, sir, could you please raise your right hand, Mr. Fox? You swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, as you shall answer the council. Okay, why don't you give us your name and address, and then Mr. Dr. Bocek will have a few questions for you.
My name is Frank Thompson.
I didn't hear you straight. What's the name of your street? Emily?
Okay, you submit the application, Mr. Fox? And that's your signature on here? Yeah. Great. Do you have any questions of your witness, Ms. Blosiak?
So, Mr. Fox, who brought the petition to your highest order of use for you to sign that petition? Notice that notice and take action.
Okay. Any other questions from the board? Okay, thank you, Mr. Fox.
Alberta Fox,
And also petition on.
Thank you.
thank you very much for coming.
Ms. Fox, you raise your right hand, please. You swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, as you shall answer to God. Speak up into the microphone, ma'am, and give us your name and address, okay?
My name is Alberta Fox, and I'm 134 Emily Street in the Florida.
Okay, terrific. Do you have any questions, Ms. Blosiak and Ms. Fox?
No. Okay, Ms. Fox, who brought the petition for you to sign?
Where's the guy back there? Yeah,
No, that's for the affidavit, but I mean the petition for the recall.
I don't have no. I don't need help.
You signed this recall petition.
Oh, yeah, that was false. That was.
So who brought you this petition to sign?
Who brought us this petition? Come in front. Make sure. Yes, I'm trying. Here, tell it back here. Shake. Yeah.
Okay, Ms. Fox, I have a question for you. Could you please present her affidavit, Ms. Blosiak?
Yeah.
Okay. One person at a time, all right? Dr. Blosiak, do you have the affidavit Ms. Fox signed? Okay, why don't you present it to her and ask her to read it if she can?
Could you read this, please, for the purposes of
Alberta Fox. 9/5/2020. Signed that petition because one in the county that was circulated by Garrison and county. Right, that's
Did you sign that affidavit?
yeah, at the time, yeah.
Is that the case? You know what the affidavit said, Ms. Fox?
Yeah.
What's it say?
State Garrison and
Okay, is that the truth?
wait a second. Is it true that the petition was circulated?
yes.
So we're having.
Ms. Blosiak, let's the witness testify, okay?
We didn't know that. We didn't know.
But Shay Gaddis circulated the petition you signed, is that correct? Okay. Not Ms. Bright. Ms. Bright did not circulate the petition. Okay. Okay, thank you. Any other questions? Thank you, Ms. Fox. Thank you, Mr. Fox.
Thank you very much. Mrs. Gerald Williams,
Move petition number 8.
thank you for understanding here.
Mr. Williams, will you raise your right hand, sir? You swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, sure as you shall answer to God. Okay, speak up so we can hear you. Okay, and give us your name and address, sir, okay? Thank you. Okay, Dr. Boccia, it's your witness.
So, Mr. Williams, when you signed that petition, who brought the petition to you to sign it? Shay Gaddison. Did you, was Kelly right there? Kelly right, we don't know, he's not entertaining who Kelly right is.
I didn't hear the question, I'm sorry.
I asked whether Kelly Bright was present, and he's asking basically who was Kelly Bright.
Okay, we did he respond, I'm sorry.
No.
So, Mr. Williams, any other questions for Mr. Williams?
Shay Anderson or Shay Gaddison?
Any other questions for Mr. Williams? Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much. Lisa Sanders?
I think. Okay, ma'am, what's your name?
My name is Kristen Sanders.
Okay, Ms. Sanders, could you raise your right hand, and do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth as you shall answer to God? Okay, thank you, Ms. Sanders. Go ahead, Dr. Boccia.
So, Ms. Sanders, when you signed this petition, you followed on the who brought the petition to you?
Okay, why don't you
Not
do,
the affidavit, the original petition. The petition. It's, would have looked like this. I'm looking for your signature. I'm sorry, the signatures are not very clear on the copies. Excuse me. Thank you. So, when this petition was brought to you, which person brought you this petition? He's the one who brought you this affidavit, right? But the petition itself says it was brought to you by Kelly Bright. The lady who's sitting behind Miss Fox, and will you know that the lady sitting behind Miss Fox is Kay Gaddison.
yes, I will. Is this Eartha Sanders?
Yes.
What are you?
Yes, Sanders, is this your affidavit? One,
Yes.
What does the affidavit say?
They do hereby affirm that on August 5th, 2020, I signed a petition to recall Anita Garden that was circulated by Chief Garrison and not a candidate Newman Brad. My name is Sanders. And I have this, and then it says, 135 Ellie, East Cleveland, Ohio, 44112, sworn and submitted in my presence in the state of Ohio, County.
Okay, Ms. Sanders, is that your signature on the document?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions?
No.
Thank you, Ms. Sanders.
It was just a little confusion between the petition and the affidavit.
Dr. Blochek, who's your next witness?
Sterling Sanders.
Thank you.
Thank you for the time, Mr. Sanders. That's very good.
Mr. Sanders, good morning. Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, sir, as you show us in the God?
So, Mr. Sanders, when you signed this petition for the recall of Juanita Galli, who brought this petition to you?
The young lady sitting back there.
The woman behind this box?
It wasn't a woman, but she was the one that was doing it.
Mhm. Okay, and here we have an affidavit. Would you read your affidavit?
Yeah. I could pull them off because this man is speaking.
I know if you're off of the mask and it's all foggy and
What do you want to show?
it's tough. I, Bill Williams.
I get over you. Do hereby.
Excuse me. This is Mr. Sanders.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Here, Mr. Sanders.
You're supposed to read this one because this is the one that you signed with. It was signed by Bill.
Okay.
I thoroughly stand to be from the 8/5/20, 2020. I signed a petition to recall the new guy that was circulated by the Garrison and not John K. Newman, right? Signed, servant Simmons, under 135 Canyon Street, East Cleveland, Ohio, 44112.
Mr. Sanders, is that your signature on that document?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Mr. Sanders, you said that she wasn't alone. Who was she with? Ms. Gaddison, was she?
There was other people with it. I don't know who they were.
She handed you the petition though to sign? Did she hand you the petition to sign?
Did check.
I think she did. She was the one that was on the top, and I think she's the one that had.
Are you sure about that?
I wouldn't slow my life on it. But I'm just telling you the way it is.
Any other questions for Mr. Sanders?
No.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Sanders.
Huh?
Your next witness, Dr. Bushner.
Can I have you call her to say? Yes.
Yes.
Okay, Gina Golden, by phone.
Number 14. Okay, Ms. Bolden, are you here on the line? Hello, Ms. Bolden?
Hello?
Hello, Ms. Bolden.
Yes, this is Gino.
Okay, Mr. Bolden, can you hear me? Hello, Mr. Bolden, can you hear me? Hello, Mr. Bolden? Okay, well, apparently can't, he's either on mute.
Hello? Hello?
Okay.
Hello?
Mr. Bolden, can you hear me?
Yeah. I can hear you.
Okay, I'm gonna put you under oath.
I can hear you.
I'm gonna put you under oath, sir. Mr. Bowden, you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, that you shall not swear to God, sir?
You already tell the truth, but enough. So help me God.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Bowden, why don't you give us your name and your address, sir?
Gino, G-I-N-O, last name Bolden. Address is 12900 Athorpe, apartment 720, 44112.
Okay, thank you. Dr. Blochak's going to ask you a question. Go ahead, Dr.
So, Mr. Bowman, when you, signed the petition for the recall of Juanita Dowdy, who brought that petition to you for your signature? Who explained it to you?
But, I know the young lady as Shay.
Shay Allison, correct? Mr.
Shay.
Yes, Shay Allison. Mr. Bowman, could you please, do you have the affidavit that you signed?
Yes, I did.
Okay, and when you signed that, you signed freely that the person whose signature, who requested your signature was Jay Davison and not, either Kelly Bright or Ashanti Wright, is that correct?
Yes.
Yes, thank you.
Okay, any questions for Mr. Bowden? Okay, thank you, Mr. Bowden.
You're welcome, sir.
Okay, any other questions or witnesses, Dr. Blochak?
Mr. O'Mays, you were the notary.
You can put him on mute.
Really, do me my thing,
Could you mute Linda?
no matter who join.
Thank you. Mr. Mays, could you swear, raise your right hand, so you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, that you shall answer me, God, sir?
Mr. Mays, we have here a number of signatures that were notarized by you saying that various people had their petitions circulated by Jay Davison and not by either Kelly Bright or Ashanti Newman Bright. Is that your notary?
Yes, it is.
And, to the best of your knowledge, are all those affidavits accurate?
Yes.
I just asked you, Mr. Mays, you witnessed these individuals sign.
I mean, the affidavit.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mays.
Any questions for Mr. Mays? The board? All right, thank you.
Mr. Martin, do you have anything you want to add?
Me?
Yeah.
Not really.
Okay.
Just hope that we'll do justice in the situation.
Who's talking? I'm not sure.
That's Nathaniel, Councilman Nathaniel Martin.
Do you have any other fact witnesses, Dr. Bush?
I do not have any additional.
Okay, thank you. Any questions for Dr. Blochak? Okay, and I've got, Miss Bright, is either Miss Bright, Kelly Bright here, or Kelly Bright or Ashton Newman Bright here? Or present online? Okay, I know Ms. Walker would advise us if she could contact him. So we don't have Ms. Bright here, the alleged circulators of these petitions. Maria Crenshaw? Mariah Crenshaw, did you want to speak to this? Okay. But thank you, Dr. Blochak. Your case in chief is done, correct? You're done presenting your evidence, correct? Okay, thank you.
Good morning. I am the lead researcher and the board
Excuse me, Mariah Crenshaw, are you a fact witness here, or are you just making a public statement?
A little bit of
Okay, well, why don't I put you under oath? You swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth that you shall answer to God. Okay, and why don't you give us your name and address, please?
Mariah Crenshaw, 3472 East 114th Street, Cleveland, Ohio, 44104.
Okay, and what do you want to share with the board?
I am a researcher analyst for an organization called Trade Justice. Juanita Gowdy and Justin Anderson are part of that organization prior to this Gowdy becoming the council president. In 2018, affidavits were filed with the City of East Cleveland Police Department regarding them not being up to date on their certification and training. The court did determine that felonies existed because they had not taken the training, they're operating on. And so,
This is just public comment. Go ahead, Mr. Carey. Go ahead.
and so, the person that just spoke out, Ms. McCullough, has been part of a rampant attack on my family, on Ms. Gowdy and Mr. Anderson, on behalf of the City of East Cleveland. I am outraged at the content of what is in that petition that was circulated. My grandson, 17 years old, was snatched out of the vehicle by the East Cleveland Police Department. And it happened simultaneously with me going public about them not having their certification to be police officers. So what is contained in that affidavit is slanderous on the fact in the face of no member, including myself, has ever spoken publicly about the arrest of Martez Barrera. No, the content of what was circulated is libelous, defamatory, it's insulting. I looked at the contents of it and saw that there are allegations made against Ms. Gowdy that cannot be supported publicly. They cannot be supported by a document, no video, no nothing. The contents within itself, not to mention the fact that it was signed by and notarized by Kelly McCullough without the presence of Kelly Bright. This is an ongoing campaign that has been going on for quite some time now because Team Justice took a stand against corruption. They took a stand and they made their mark in the world to hold police accountable and the people who are above them. This is just another attack. And I think it's shameful that anyone would file the slander and libelous content of that petition against a 17-year-old child who the state has no evidence whatsoever committed any crime. And so I am outraged that the public office held by Kelly McCullough has been used unlawfully and abusively and continues to be done so.
Thank you, Ms. Crenshaw. We're here today, though, on signatures on a petition.
Correct. And so if you look at the signatures on the petition, you'll see that Kelly McCullough signed a petition signed by Kelly Drake, and she was not present. And every notary is supposed to have a person present at the time that they notarize a document. She was not present, and we have multiple text messages from Ms. McCullough saying that she was not present. So, Shay Gaddison.
Ms. Crenshaw, excuse me, are you referring to the affidavit that's a city council?
Correct.
Okay, we're not here on that either.
But I want it on the record that it was the content of the petition that was circulated was slanderous, libelous, and maliciously done. It was not, when it was notarized, it was not notarized in the presence of the person who allegedly signed it.
Okay, thank you very much, Ms. Crenshaw. And I also have, I know Mrs. Wrights are not present. They're a part of this hearing, and I know they received notice. And is Shay Gaddison present? She's asked to.
Yes, I am.
Okay, why don't you come up here, Ms. Gaddison? Okay, Ms. Gaddison, could you raise your right hand, please? Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, as you shall answer unto God?
I do.
Why don't you give us your name and address, please?
Check out 186 Farmington Road,
you spell your first and last name?
K-C-H-E, Gaddison, G-A-D-I-S-O-N.
And what would you like the board to hear, Ms. Gaddison?
Okay, well, first of all, I'd like to start by, saying that I did not really have time to prepare for this hearing. I did not receive notification of this hearing until Thursday, the 24th. I did not receive any written notification of this hearing until Friday. The 25th, I have been in contact with Ms. Walker. I have sent her an email with a UPS tracking receipt, confirming the date and time that I received the certified notification about the hearing. So I just wanted to say that I did not really have time to prepare for this, and because of due process, I wanted to know if I could get an extension so that I could gather my materials and evidence. Is that possible?
Ms. Gaddison, just what do you need? I mean, you've heard people under oath state that you circulated a petition that they signed.
Okay.
Okay, and what's your response to that?
So my response to that is I did not circulate a petition. I have assisted Ms. Bright in collecting signatures. Ms. Bright asked for my assistance because, number one, I know a lot of residents, as my previous role as councilwoman within Ward 2. Every time that I even had a petition in my hand, Ms. Bright was in the vicinity, she was talking to another resident. Ms. Bright suffers from MS. And so sometimes, like for example, when we had to go to the Apple apartment building, to which I believe Mr. Williams lives, she would stay outside the picnic area and I would actually canvass the inside of the building.
So excuse me, she wasn't present when you obtained those signatures.
So she was in the vicinity, she was in the building, so she was talking to another resident collecting signatures, and I would talk to a resident that I knew and get them to sign the petition. To the best of my knowledge, that was not in violation of any rules and procedures, as long as she was with me in the vicinity. I didn't just take a petition from her on my own and just went out and collected signatures on my own. As long as I had her and I was assisting her and she was with me, that was okay.
That's what you thought.
That's what I was told.
By who?
When I thought it was
Who did you talk to at the board? Okay. Any questions for Ms. Gaddison?
So I would like to start off by saying that I did not get anything notarized. I was with Ms. Bright in Ms. McColl's office. She notarized in the presence of both Ms. Bright and myself. There is surveillance camera within City Hall. And so.
Ms. Gaddison, I'm sorry, we're not focusing, the board isn't, I can speak on that signature at City Hall. Okay, we're focusing on the petitions. Okay, it's alleged that you circulated petitions, that Kelly Bright signed it as the circulator, and we have to make a determination whether Ms. Bright actually circulated it and signed it, or you did on her behalf.
Correct. So I was that we were here to discuss that there was no Ms. Bright, that I basically forged her signature. I had Ms. McCullough notarize a forged signature, that Ms. Bright was not present, and that I circulated petitions and thereby saying that I forged Kelly Bright's signature on these petitions. And that Kelly Bright in no way, shape, form, or fashion collected these signatures, that I did everything entirely myself. That's what I was under the assumption that we were here to discuss.
Yes.
Right, please.
What's your definition of circulating a petition?
So the circulator, from what I was told, is the person who pulls the petition. So the person who pulls the petition is the circulator of the petition.
Okay, did you, so here's my specific question. So you've heard the people that
given testimony today. This Cody, we've heard from the Foxes, Sanders, and Mr. Bolden, and one other, maybe Mr. Williams.
Miss Tommy, who was on our.
Okay, so with respect to each of those people, did you hand them the petition and ask them to sign it?
Yes, and that's because I knew them prior to, I know them personally, and so.
Which people are you referring, which people?
So
are you
I
referring
know Miss Tommy, I know Mr. Sanders, I know Mr. Fox and his mother, and as a matter of fact, they testified, or Mr. Frank Fox testified that he didn't know what he was signing. Neither him nor his mom knew what they were signing, that in fact is not.
I didn't hear that testimony, actually. I just want to ask you, did you, first, because we've heard them say that you did not circulate the.
No, Mr. Fox testified that I presented the petition to them. They didn't know what they were signing. Okay, I mean, he did not know what he was signing. His mom couldn't remember what she signed. That in fact is not the truth. Both Mr. Fox and his mom knew exactly that what they were signing. They knew that was a recall petition for Councilman Gallery. And they expressed to me they were apprehensive about signing the petition because number one, they didn't want anybody to find out. They were scared of any type of retaliation, and also because they were facing eviction, and Councilwoman Gallery helped them stay in their home.
So they said all that to you because you were circulating the petition to them?
I was at, I was assisting Ms. Wright. She was down the street.
Any other questions for Ms. Gaddison? All right, Ms. Gaddison, thank you. Okay, I think we've heard from everyone. I've heard from the people that want to make public comment. Ms. Bushek has made her presentation. Is there a motion?
Mr. Chairman, I'll move to accept the protest submitted. I think it's pretty clear that the petitions were not circulated by the person that signed it. It's not all over work. So I believe the protest is there.
So you're making a motion to uphold the protest as to the recall election of Ms. Gotti. Mr. Lawler, if that were the case, I mean, I'll second that motion, so it's on the floor. I'm gonna have some questions. If we act today, there'd be time to get, the name would not appear on the ballot, is that correct?
Right. So, it will, we held the ballots for New Chicago, we held the ballots for, so that was mailed out to them on another point. We do have the opportunity to remove the ballot outside of our tabulation system, but they will not throw ballots at the voters.
So they are, this recall is on certain ballots.
It's on the Ward 2 ballot, yes. It's an issue. So it's the last issue in Ward 2 on the 3 precincts. They believe, if I'm correct, we can mask that issue off of the ballots of those 3. They can print those ballots. We would not need to post anything in the polls or put anything in the public.
And by virtue of, I mean, we've heard testimony from, as Fellows point out, 2, 4, 6, 7 individuals. And any one of them that would cause these signatures would be invalid, I think you reported to. Correct. And therefore, there would not be sufficient signatures to get this on the ballot.
Correct.
That's one question.
Please.
I was trying to, because my packet just is a little bit incomplete, although I see you've gotten all these affidavits. Do we need, and maybe this is a question for Mark Wilson and for you, I'm not sure. We heard testimony from a number of the signers. Did we need to hear testimony from each of the folks on each? So I think we got testimony on petition 1, petition 8, petition 14. I'm not sure we got any testimony about petitions 19 or 22. So do we need to receive testimony about each
I believe we received testimony on 22 and 19. I think the one we're missing is Tony Gray on petition 14.
Okay. Who was our, what was our, I'm sorry, I was trying to listen in and figure out which ones they were. Oh, the affidavit, that was Mr. Golden, okay. That was for 19, okay, I'm sorry. Trying to double check. Petition 14, I thought was Mr. Golden, okay, I had that wrong. Petition 8 was Sanders and Williams, correct?
Correct.
And then petition 1 was, Fox. Fox's. What about Miss Tony? What, I didn't see where her petition.
She was the first witness.
I know she was the first witness, but what petition was she?
Oh, 22.
Oh, that was 22, that's right. Okay. So basically, we have testimony from each petition. Is that correct? And do we, my question is, do we need a testimony on each petition in order to advance it?
I think the board has the ability to give way to the affidavits. Okay. I think the live testimony, authenticating about the affidavits increases the weight of that evidence in meeting the standards. I don't think you necessarily need it. It's really the board's discretion on whether it tips the scale towards.
Okay, thank you. That was my question.
And make a comment in response to the board members about I believe the only affidavit we have regarding petition 14 is from Tony Gay, and that we didn't have any other testimony, but we do have that one affidavit on 14.
And one other, even if the board determines that the weight on that one is not sufficient to throw out that one petition, if the board determines there's some sort of systemic or kind of irregularities that call into question the entire petition, that would be sufficient to eliminate the issue.
Thank you, counsel.
Any other questions or comments?
Just
Mr. Frost?
I thank Mr. Musson for his guidance on that. I do think that found the evidence presented from the witnesses substantiating their affidavits was persuasive. I think that the systematic method that these were circulated, which was actually verified by Ms. Gaddison, that lends weight to the fact that on 14, we only have the one affidavit. We do have that affidavit. I think that's a credible affidavit with the weight of the other evidence.
Thank you, Mr. Frost. Any other questions or comments? I echo Mr. Frost's comments in that regard. I think there's clear and convincing evidence that stipulated. So we're not the rights on certain petitions. So therefore, I will ask all those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye. Aye. Motion passes unanimously, and I've asked staff to take the appropriate steps to remove that issue from the ballot. Thank you. Okay, on to. Yes. Okay, I will move to acknowledge the appointment of an elected official to office. Actually, yes, Mr. Craig, thank you, sir, for coming. Thank you. Thank you. I will move to acknowledge the appointment of elected office. In this case, it's North Royalton City Council. Actually, our agenda package talks about Thank you, Mr. Any questions or comments? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Motion passes. We'll move on to I will move to approve the consolidation of precinct election officials for polling locations with more than 2 precincts for the November 3rd, 2020 presidential general election. There's a second. Thank you. And this is something we have to do by statute for the better able to staff our polling locations. If there are no questions or comments, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Thank you. And on to the approval of vouchers. I don't know if Ms. Susie's present. I know there's one item on there.
She is online. If we have need her to answer questions. There are 2 items on this voucher list. The first being actually the 2 PSA 50 scanners that we previously had approved for us to purchase, and then we took that down because voting equipment.
We worked through the process with the county executive and the president of county council signing off on that measure. And what this is now is we've actually received the bill for it. So we're just paying for that. The equipment has been delivered, it's been installed, it's been through acceptance testing, ready to go, and will be part of the whole test for the Friday. The other item on the list are just ballpoint pens, 400,000 ballpoint pens that we purchased to send out to the polls on election day as part of keeping voters safe. When they go to fill out their ballot, when you check in, they will get a pen for them to keep as a souvenir, to throw out, whatever they want, but they will not be reused. So this is us being able to send pens to all poll places, all polling locations where everyone can use their own personal or a pen rather than for the ballot. Both these items covered by sheriff's dollars.
Okay, any questions? Well, hearing none, all those, well, I'll make a motion to approve the vouchers as presented on our agenda. By Mr. Blythe, is a second. Second. Thank you. Any other questions or comments? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Then on to number 6. And this recommendation is there a misprint in there? It says conditions that are not acceptable to prosecuting. Should it be conditions that are acceptable?
So I believe, oh, go ahead, Mark.
Yes, I think it's, I think that is a little complicated. But it's, we're seeking your approval to, authorize the agreement, except to the extent it's not acceptable.
Don't make a.
So they, to the extent that it's legally acceptable for prosecutor's office, you're authorizing.
I can condition.
It should say, we're not.
Okay.
Okay, can I just ask, is there some reason that there would be conditions that are not acceptable? I'm not really sure.
Yes, there's a few, there's an indemnity clause in there that is something that not predicted unless they're going to set aside the funds and cap it at a certain amount. We're not going to do that. And it came in late on Friday, so we've been kind of, it's been a moving process. We think we've identified the top rank respondent, provided they're able to present or sign an agreement that we legally. No business terms.
Yeah, I understand that in general, like, we continue always, every public sector entity has these issues of private sector vendors that want us to indemnify, and I understand we can't indemnify. We're getting close to the gun on this though. So what are we going to be in agreement or get to some agreement around that clause, or did I just understand you saying you have another vendor that doesn't have that protection or that provision in place? I'm sorry, I just want to make sure we don't get tied up with people arguing over it.
Yeah.
But I find oftentimes the private vendors will, and we often agree to the extent permitted by law, language which we know is not permitted by law. I don't really understand why people don't strike the clause, but I guess my question is I just don't want us to get held up and not have the protection we need. That we have an alternate, is that what I heard you say?
I believe so. I defer to Kendra.
Actually, Lori, are you on the call? No, Lori.
No, I'm here.
Oh, Lori's not on the call.
Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
We reached out to one of our vendors.
I'm sorry, I don't think you are.
I'm sorry, Gloria Costa, HR manager.
How do you spell this?
ACOSTA.
Please discuss.
So we reached out to a couple of vendors. This was a decision that we wanted to have a temporary agency come in and provide staffing for the nurses for a couple of reasons. When I hire someone, it's very difficult to some people out there where we can immediate replacements, cover all those hours for early person voting period. This vendor was very agreeable when we talked to them. There are conditions in there about overtime and things like that. She's going to schedule our shifts so that we get no overtime call outs to them. They provide an immediate replacement. I don't doubt that we're going to be able to come to terms that are agreeable.
So as a comment about the indemnity clause, I understand what you're talking about, Michelle. And Mr. Musson, the fact is, to make it happen, the legislative body has to set aside money to fund it, and if they don't, then the indemnity clause doesn't work, period. So the fact that it's in there and we don't take that action, they're not gonna be able to take any action against us for indemnification.
Hopefully, the court will agree with you. I just sometimes we don't listen.
Our resources are expensive. But I understand, you're right, and a lot of private vendors are fair, won't take it out.
I guess my concern too is just that, I mean, this COVID-19 function they're gonna provide is critical and important. And kudos to the staff for reaching out to getting a vendor to provide this. So I'm just hopeful that we'll be able to get it done.
This is for this building and the warehouse, is that correct?
Actually, my primary focus is for this building. I have temporary staff that's over at the warehouse doing, one left us this morning, which is why I need a temporary agency to fill that in right away. But this is just for this one.
What this will give us is 3 temperature takers for this building, 2 stationed at the Euclid entrance, which will be the primary entrance for voting, to take temperatures, and then will be another at the parking lot entrance, which is the accessible entrance. So we'll always have 3 people here taking temperatures for all hours that we are open for early in person. It actually does allow for a 4th person if need be, if all of a sudden the demand calls for it, or we do get into a situation at county where we can call upon.
Please, again, Mrs. Wu, what is the protocol for somebody that does have here?
So when they come here to this building, what we've done is they come into the front of the building, they will have their temperature taken at the desk area. We have identified a spot in that front corner. The counting trays have plexiglass off that will contain a DS200 ballot scanner, a voting booth, and an AutoMark ADA accessible unit. So if a person were to have a temperature, it would be sent into that area there. Team would get them checked in, get them a ballot. They would take care of all their process in the front corner of the building. Then when they're done, exit right back out the front door. We follow up then with sanitation, supplies or cleansers, and clean the area.
It's the same contract as the tent that we have out back during April 28th voting day. And bring that inside and off of the front entrance so that they don't have to travel down the hallway to get to the room 2. It's almost like an immediate hard block.
So they get to vote, but they're segregated off and they're not going to mix with the general other voting population.
Okay, thank you. Okay, any other questions or comments? I'll make a motion to recommend the award of cross-country staffing Inc. to the extent that such terms and conditions are acceptable to the prosecuting attorney for the medical health professional screening between October 6, 2020 and November 3rd, 2020, and amount to receive $40,000. Second. Thank you. Any other question or comment? Okay, hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Before we get to the personnel agenda, just a couple questions. I know we've talked about this donation. So the call center, site center calls, where are we at with that? I know that hasn't been approved yet.
That's correct. So we did go out to bid for temporary resources, a third-party vendor to staff our call center for the upcoming election. We have 2 responses that have come in. One is from the Cleveland Site Center. The other is from Robert Half Staff Agency. We are currently reviewing those contracts. They are actually quite costly. So we're trying to work through to see, there's a couple of pieces to it. One, I think I've notified or made the board aware that we're updating our system, and we've already gone through a TDC phone system. That's a cloud-based system. We improved that. That's a part of the process to be able to do some of this offline. We are 20 Calgary is the lead on that, and we probably by week's end we'll have that system in place. So in the meantime, we have our own internal call center. Once we have that in place, then these vendors kind of want to look to see what that system is and see how they would adapt to the technology. We will come back at some point with a recommendation for a call center, but I do not think it's going to be for the entirety of the window. It might be for the last 2 weeks of the voting.
That's because we have staff that can handle
I think they can handle the first part of it, and then as we get those last weeks, a call might potentially be double per day. So we could go from 1,000 calls a day now to 2,000 calls in a few days, leading up probably 3,000 calls a day. And that becomes, it's too much.
It's
So,
not much to staffing, it's social distancing, as far as we don't have those things. We have enough phone lines probably, we could probably get temporary employees to come into this building. Like any other election, we don't ever do this type of, or just this but it just comes down to physical space between home operators. And the ability to get plexiglass that extends out past and meets the limit. I mean, I think parking, it's a physical limitation of this.
Do I recall for some reason we used to sometimes site center was involved in the primary?
We have used the site center, yeah.
So did we do the same thing before? We had our own operation at the site center? I don't remember.
No, we use the same operation, however, we only use it for Monday and Tuesday prior to the election. Maybe Friday, Saturday, Sunday if we needed to.
No, that's presidential. We do.
That's correct. We also did run the gubernatorial, we used it, maybe just election day. Just
Like the site center?
The site center.
Okay, that's
And
what
the
I
site center does also the calls for the Secretary of State's office. So, but there are other, vendors, I think we're just trying to work out the best.
Sure, so I was just curious if I,
We've done something similar to this on a very small scale.
if you're in the spring, what we did was, we did bring them in for some days here to get through the home, and then when they, like Shane Steele said, presidential, we will have them through all of the calls for the last days. We just want to get out and go a little bit longer.
Please.
I want to put on the record today, since it's the first time before, while we're not having any deliberations, we're being asked to make a decision today. Due to the potential of a conflict of interest, or at least the appearance of a conflict, given that a partner of mine represents the Site Center on state government matters, I'm going to not be involved in and recuse myself from any discussions, deliberations, or decisions on the call center.
Thank you.
I previously notified our legal counsel when the issue first came to my attention. But our piece.
Thank you. While we go into that new business, down there, when I see you kind of passed out something.
Yeah, I don't know. Did it get all the way around?
You did.
Okay. So this is just so I don't forget. First item of new business is.
I'm sorry, did we do the personnel?
Well, I was going to hold on
I'm
to
sorry.
that because I'm going to ask you to go into executive session.
The first piece of new business I want to discuss is Trevor Elkins Ohio Election Commission hearing. We had a hearing on September 17th for this. Prior to going into that hearing, and so everyone, just to refresh their memory, the Franklin County Prosecutor's Office is our counsel on this because our Cuyahoga County Prosecutor's Office has a conflict with that. So we have worked with the Franklin County Prosecutor's Office to help to prepare for the hearing for Trevor Elkins. Right prior to that hearing, the Franklin County Prosecutor's Office came to myself with a proposed settlement agreement for this. Well, this is actually, I've been working with Brent Waller and Rosemary Amato on this. We haven't participated in the hearing before, and we were ready to go for a hearing and do that. When the settlement came, I did not feel like, one, I had the ability to agree to any kind of settlement in this. And quite honestly, I just want the hearing to happen and let the entity do what it needs to do. Not really having, and I don't believe having the ability to enter into any kind of agreement. And we don't, I guess, how I would want to proceed. I wanted to see if potentially maybe the chairman would be able to reach out to Franklin County, make them aware of what the board would expect if that is in fact going forward with the hearing, and maybe they understand that we need to go ahead and move forward with that. We
I'm sorry, Mr. Blau, let me just ask, to the extent, Mark, I mean, it just, I've talked to Tony about this, you may have also, and Chantel, it just seems unusual that we would decide to settle a case that is in front of a board that's supposed to settle the case, right? It just doesn't make sense, and to the extent that, have you been able to talk to that office, or are you kind of conflicted out of any of that?
Yeah, I didn't know the whole history of how this whole thing came up and how Franklin County kind of, took on the role. So I know I'm familiar with us all procedurally moving along, but it just seems like, in the abstract, that there's nothing really for the board to settle. But, you know, it's not a dispute between the board as a party and Mr. Elkins. The election commission
Would handle, and I mean, this has gone to the extent that I understand they prepared a settlement agreement. Yes, for us, and they want us to sign it.
Right, they presented the
Us
settlement.
being the board.
Correct, and they presented that to me saying, okay, for my signature, I'm not signing that.
So what sorry to interrupt.
Yeah.
What I suggested is that with your permission, I can reach out and talk to the prosecutor's office down there and Tony on the line. And just say, why are you asking us? What precedent has been set here? I'm not going to read anything, because I'm of the mind that unless there's a compelling reason or law for us to get involved with this, the board shouldn't be involved in settling the case.
I would just give you certainly authority from my perspective to take it, represent us and take in terms of, finding out the information. I'm in agreement. We serve a tripwire function in terms of, the filing of these reports. And it's my understanding that our staff haven't discovered irregularities, but we are not a party. We are not a part of this. And I just don't understand. I agree. Thank you for not signing that. I mean, because that takes us down a slippery slope. I don't know why we would ever be wanting to be, fighting something in that regard as if we were a party. But I know Chairman that you will represent us and speak on our behalf in what way that makes sense. I'm good with that. That way.
Well, thank you. And I understand that the OEC is a meeting till the end of October, right, Director Kalani?
They have on October 1st, but they pushed us to October 29th. And that's based on one of the members saying that they had never seen anything like this before.
So we would meet on the 19th in 3 weeks, so I'll have a chance to get back to y'all on that before they meet. So,
In what context have we never seen anything?
The one guy, I don't remember who the board member was, but he just had said that he wasn't going to be available October 1st, so he wanted it to be pushed October 29th because he had never seen anything as egregious as this before. But the complaints that we filed with the commission.
any other questions? And I'll go ahead and then report back to a meeting what I've learned from them, but I think we're all kind of on the same mindset. VBM application update.
Yeah, so I just want to let you know where we are both by mail, ballot applications. As of right now, or as of Friday, here in Cuyahoga County, this is valid applications, 279,452. To give you the comparable from 4 years ago, September 28th, 2016, that's number 145,102. So over 100,000 more than where we were, substantially over 100,000 more than where we were. We have a lot of applications. The staff, the way that we have attacked it, we're in a good position with the vote by mail applications. We are processing the previous day's applications plus dipping into that day's mail, so that's a good thing. We don't have any kind of large backlog, so things are on deck and getting processed timely. We are still seeing and will educate voters. The main rejection category is not date of birth. We've talked about it numerous times. We put it out with different things, and we'll continue to put that out there. But that still is the number one reason why we don't get an application.
We're also getting individuals correcting that mistake. So I just don't want to talk about the negative that we have the, record number of individuals making a mistake. We also, in turn, have over 10,000 individuals have actually gotten back to us and corrected that and gotten it back. So I just want to there is hope, like,
Yeah.
so.
That's an important point to make.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, look, about over 8,000 people, that's correct. Just out of 18. So vote by mail is, it's running well.
Running well or running well? What is it?
Running well.
Oh, okay.
It's running well. So that's good.
Yeah, I don't need to interrupt you, but there was a news report about the fact that voters are not putting the correct address, our address in the window for the return. Have we been seeing any info? Is there additional information about that? And it's the post office, I was told the post office just sort of, some people don't put return addresses on, so they just have some sitting there where, they don't return them.
Yeah.
Even though the window shows the actual voter's address.
I haven't heard that part. Okay,
Okay.
so let me just explain what the issue is.
Okay.
I think we might have demonstrated that, but that was probably during our Facebook Live. So if you try to hold your application back up, this is a Secretary of State's office application that was sent to every registered voter. So if you try to hold that back up, on one side is our address that should go on it, so it comes to us. However, on the other side of the trifle is the voter's address. So if you simply the voter turns that around the wrong way, that's why their address is getting into it. So unfortunately, both are in the exact same spot on the envelope, because most of the time what you see is that it won't work, like if you flip it around the wrong way. So we are getting reports, or it's actually slowed down a lot, because it's just the Secretary of State's office but it's the voter data that themselves, because that's what the address is on there. The return address wouldn't come into play at all at that point, because it's addressed.
Okay.
So I have
So
to.
they should be getting that then. Okay.
Yeah, we actually, I did this through Texas National. He did a little bit of research, and yes, so if they are sending it back to themselves, the post office is delivering it, the only time that return address in the left-hand corner comes into play is if in that window is completely blank. So if it is completely blank, but they do have a return address in the corner, the person still brings that in, they will send it back. But if that's not there, they can't identify it, then it's unfortunately.
For that.
Okay. If there's nothing else, I was going to move on to vote by mail ballots. So you are aware this past Friday, the ballot department did give the approval to print. It completed the proofing process of our ballots. Took me through and ran them through some of our equipment. The equipment was able to read those. So we gave Midwest Director Ballot Printer the approval to print over this weekend, Midwest Direct now. Everything that does what you need to with the software to get it prepared so it can print. And today will be the actual first day that they will start printing actual ballots. We will have a phone call with Midwest Direct tomorrow afternoon to see, make sure everything is going, and at that point in time, should have a better gauge as to what their throughput production is. They have already provided Midwest Direct with a file of 187,000 voters, ballots for them to start printing. We have another file of 50,000 voters that we're ready to send that's completely approved, and a third file of 50,000 voters that is all data entered, and now is just going through our own internal approving processes before we will send that down. So everything is, they have all the envelopes, they have all the inserts, and that process now is up and running. Then
I'm going to talk about it's really before I get started. I'm just going to talk about numbers a little bit. So I recently started sending out a dashboard. I'm sorry, I know that it went a little bit radio silent at the end of the week, and I should have sent something out to you guys today. I do have updates, however, we're trying to work through some other things, so I apologize. I'd like to send that out on Tuesdays and Fridays every week. If you guys want it more, we'll certainly not prepare it every day, so you can just let me know and I can give you the daily one. But I just think that provides the most amount of time. Otherwise, we might be going up just a few numbers down, a few numbers, so it won't necessarily make sense. You will notice when you see the numbers this time that we did have a drop in the number of individuals placed for the election, and that accounts for returning workers who were in progress of their online training or never signed up for their online training. So I think Tony and I gave the direction a couple of weeks ago. Now we need to hold firm to the September 21st deadline. We've already given them an extra week extension. This is a new, kind of experience for our coworkers, but we felt like we have to get those individuals out so we can pull the trigger to get new individuals in. I have been reporting on the dashboard that there were over 4,000 new applicants interested. I've worked with 10X, which is our vendor for Election Force, and Election University, 10X University, who does our online applications. We were able to successfully get out the link to sign up for in-person training to, by the end of the day, all 4,000, by the end of today, the last chunk of 1,500 of the 4,000 will go out. So basically they were kind of sitting there and hold until Friday. I think that we started out with the first 1,500. I just worked with 10X to send an automatic acceptance of those. And we pulled out who we should, who we needed to pull out. But so it went kind of 1,500 on Friday, and then 1,500 over this weekend, and then 15 more hundred will go out today. And that's kind of where we were. So nothing really was happening with those 4,000 applicants. And I'm just sorry, that I'm getting emails, Tony would give me emails with the feed up on social media just a little bit. So we were asking everyone to be patient for the time being, but we pulled the trigger on all of those over the weekend. So you'll start to see those numbers of individuals placed and trained, I think, jump really, really big this week.
So everybody that has applied, there was media, sent to our news site last week about poll workers. Everybody that's applied now has been given a link to say, sign up, we want to train you.
I would, there are some caveats to that, and that would be, anyone who lives out of the county or and then there are individuals who have checked the box, yes, if they have. We did do some cleanup prior to just hitting a blanket yes.
So individuals that I can't qualify to be a PPL aren't going to be.
Yes, any new applicant that could qualify for working in Iowa County should have received them. They will have by the end of today. So the last chunk is going up into today. We are getting applications every day, so we kind of pull that data on Friday. If you apply Saturday, Sunday, or today, they're not in that group, but we will. We're going to do a much better job of getting word out to those individuals on a daily basis. So through the hurdle at the big chunk at the end of today, on a daily basis, we'll stay in contact with those.
And this process involves the Secretary of State rules also.
It does. We have. There's a lot of duplicates between the two, so that's kind of a little bit of a different process, but I did work out, again, 10X has been absolutely amazing in this process. We are asking them to do things that are not in contract, that are above and beyond just allowing us to have individuals sign up for something online. They're actually, so the Secretary of State's office, those applications aren't tied to our system, but we have worked out a way to do a data conversion and kind of reverse engineer putting in applications into 10X's system. So we did do one chunk of those on last Friday. We started with Republicans. That's because we are short Republicans in this county always, and that's the only reason I just clearly say that. We will continue to work through what's ever left, but we have been working those. But there's probably maybe a couple hundred more that come through. We'll continue to I'll do one more conversion maybe tomorrow or the next day to get the rest of those out. But we'll continue to stay on top of this as well.
And the dashboard will come out every Tuesday and Friday. I'm good with that of the other board members.
I'm not only am I good with it, it is a really neat tool. I just want to say thank you for coming up with that. It's done very well, very helpful. And I do agree with that. That kind of, you don't have to get us every incremental increase. But it is a nice.
We will get to a point where so this is just my experience managing the department several years ago. This is kind of what you deal with at the end. Oh my God, why do we lose 10 people? And we get calls every day, and our staff probably put 10 people in or 12. So we're not always seeing a positive move at the end. So I just, Tuesdays and Fridays, I think, just provide the best picture, and that's my.
I do have a fundamental question, I'll get in the news cycle from last week. Are we confident then that we are going to hit the number we need to hit in terms of coworkers? And that we will have the pool that we need, the backup pool that we need, and then we're trained. We're good in terms of the timing or not? And that's the critical question from my perspective.
I don't speak for time, so I say yes.
I think we will be. So last week, the news cycle, it is what it is, and hopefully that by the time it was done, everyone was clear and understood. With the last email that I sent out, where I sent out, we addressed it on Facebook Live, so hopefully that's okay. Last week was a big eye opener for Shane Thiel and I. We've been meeting with the staff on a weekly basis and meeting with all the staff. So things came out in that meeting that we were unaware of and was not what we wanted to hear. So what we've done, we're at a micromanagement level now. We're in Shane Thiel has really dove in and got into all these numbers and is working with 10X, and we have in short time really turned things around. So these numbers that she's saying in these applications, she's working with staff, she's got them pushed out. So we have a lot of applications, which is good. That's a great thing. A lot of times we're like trying to find what we got, and they're still coming in. So now we are pushing them out. We'll utilize robocalls to follow up and make sure that people, hey, in your inbox, look, we should see numbers jump up in big chunks, like on a regular basis. You're pushing out 1,500, and hopefully we're having a couple hundred people a day trained. So I think we have stuff there. I think we'll get there.
I get that. I don't know anything about the east side, but I personally would not charge the east side of the main type of training class. I would totally be available. I know, but.
I was gonna say, it says.
Right, no, we should come over to like Rocky River, let's do a training. So we know, I started to look at the numbers and I thought, well, let's just make a little bit more. We need to make more classes available. So there's an option. And then I'm not saying that we're going to have empty classes or we're going to be doing half capacity. I just want to be able to provide all these new people that find out some convenient place for them to train.
And to that point, I did receive, and I don't like to just report when I get complaints about somebody. I've gotten a lot of comments from people, just most recently from a former colleague of mine from my law firm who went for the first time tonight, went to a training at Marriott on Saturday. She said it was excellent. So, just want to get some good feedback.
Good, thank you. We appreciate the good feedback.
Great. Grant update?
So there are 2 grants that we have applied for. One of them is with the National Vote at Home Institute, and those are actually, it's a group that they reached out to me, and they reached out to a couple other large counties. Basically, individuals who focus on all vote by mail states, just offering their resources, trying to work through how you do some of these things. Amber McReynolds, who's spoken at, remember if it was an OAEO or SOS conference. She is CEO of this organization and previously in charge of elections in Colorado. And through conversations with them, they are going to award us just under $70,000 grant to help buy 2 letter opener extraction machines. It's kind of like Board of Cuyahoga County, if you buy one, we'll buy you 2. So we're going to end up getting 3 of these. So you'll see that come soon for that. That'll be a huge help. Yes, Hamilton, Butler, a couple others who have this. So that will help us out. So that's one grant. And then over the weekend, Kendra notified us through the civic, we call it the Facebook Summer Coach grant, that Aaron Ackerman sent out to all counties, Center for Tech and Civic Life. We asked for a little over 1.2 million and just got word this weekend that we were awarded that. So
1.2 million?
1.2 million.
Wow. So
I will sign this today, get that off, and get a check.
What's it for?
It's for, and I can get it to you. I emailed what our proposal was, but there's all kinds of different things. So some things are for voter education. So buying radio time and social media, card equipment to help facilitate the process, signage. If we need additional temporary resources, that's a category in there. There was things to help with PPE, poll worker recruitment, temporary staffing, some things for voting here early in person. We're going to purchase a couple of vending machines that you get a subscription to, and it will translate all kinds of different languages. So if anyone appears, you talk to an operator on the screen, the operator translates stuff to us. So it's just a lot of different things like that. Election equipment.
The signage around here, voter parking signs, and not just the signs like we have on our museum, we're talking other signs that hang or even digital signs about how we're, depending on the flow of traffic that we end up with here. So a lot of it has to do with just making the flow of down here.
Yeah, we're going to try to get some UV scanners to send every poll place the sanitizing equipment.
Do we have to act on that as a board, or does the county council act on that? Something like
I don't think there's any action.
I don't think there's any, county council, I don't think they have anything to do with that. I think that I believe that I can sign the grant, but any of the purchases that would meet the requirements of the threshold, that would have to come before the board. I believe, because that.
Mark, you guys can discuss it. Let us know.
Yes. Thanks, Commissioner. I believe so. The requirement for board action is on the expenditure, not the bringing in of revenue. So I don't, the board can, require what it wants to require, but under the statute, I think it's going to go to the board to decide.
What's the name of the grant? Thank you. What's the name of the grant?
Center for
Yeah, Center for Tech and Civic Life.
Okay, well, I'll move to authorize the board director to enter into a grant proposal with the Center for, what is it?
Center.
Tech and Civic Life.
Tech and Civic Life. Second.
Can I make a friendly amendment to extend if there are any other election-related grants that we are receiving for the general election, and we can give authority to accept those monies as well?
Sure. The other grant is, what's the other grant?
Yeah, so this is the National Vote at Home Institute.
And also authority for that.
Yes.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments?
Yeah.
Quick question. Mentioned refer to the Center for Tech and Civic Life as a Facebook grant. What's that?
So that is, we call it that because Mark Zuckerberg and his wife, on a national basis, have put up a certain amount of money, $200-300 million or something, that for boards of elections, they make application to help to facilitate the November's election process.
But it's not a grant where you win Facebook.
No.
No, it's not. And so Aaron Ackerman emailed out this application to all 88 counties in the state. And I believe he then engaged in conversations with the Secretary of State's office prior to him pushing that out to everybody.
The reason for my inquiry, if it were with Facebook, even though as Mr. Musso said, this is perceived without or not expecting them to have something to disclose on a conflict, but we're not with Facebook, then, just a colloquial, how you're referring to it.
Yeah, yes.
All right, thank you.
All right. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye. Yeah, we can. Friendly amendment. I have a question, just on the PPE, because people have been asking questions about whether or not voters who come to the polls are going to be given masks. And I think you said that we did some projection. Can you just explain that? Because I'm getting quite a few inquiries about that.
Or if you want to bring down how much ones, but we will be supplying each polling location with a personal amount of masks that we have on hand, as well as the brokers who go around to locations will have 2 extra boxes of 50 boxes available in their cars, and then we'll have a backup at their zone station. So
thank you.
If the number keeps increasing, or I give you a number of what we have on hand, but we
have quite a few, and kind of some of our thought process was we anticipate of the voters who come to the polls, no science behind this, but we said, well, maybe a third of them will not come with a mask. And so we want to make sure we have enough to cover that. So we send that in the field. However, if that is not enough, we have more that we can get out.
And so there's a time there's time frame. So that's the amount of what's reported as people come to a restaurant. Well, eating and drinking, actively eating and drinking is the one exception that you're not allowed to have masks. I could see someone walking into a restaurant. So we're hoping that it will be lower, but that is the threshold. And that was reported only by 2 sources. So there's just a little bit of fun. Thank you.
In the event someone refuses to wear a mask, what is the protocol for that? Yeah.
So
I can see that happening.
yeah, so that's interesting, and that is something that, so a couple things. We know that we have enough masks that the greeter would offer them the mask. Hopefully they would take it. If they don't, then we will offer them the ability to go outside curbside vote. So they would be able to do that. If they still refuse that, that's the part that we're still need to finalize at the polls. Technically, you can't turn anyone away, so they would be able to vote in a polling location and get a line.
What about letting them vote in the areas where people vote if they have a fever?
Right? So that's for here. But out at the polls on election day, there's not a designated spot in all these locations.
Oh, I thought that we were having that happen at other polling locations as well.
We will not be taking temperatures of voters.
Oh, I didn't realize that.
Now, we will take the temperature of the workers at work, but we don't have any place to take the temperatures of the voters. There will be part of actually the pre-planning that we're used to be more of an education of what to expect on election day. These are the types of conversations that we'll have to try to get the word out about self-assess, whatever.
Self-assessment.
Yeah. At our kids' school, they tell, we have a responsibility as parents to take their temperature every morning, and then we basically send them. And so that's kind of the message that we're going to be sending out. Marketing that went out to all the parents.
So these polling locations, we don't have the equipment necessarily or the space to set aside a DS200, have a voting booth there to move someone, as Dave's coming in, to move someone over to that area like we do here. And we have to staff it.
Right. We can identify a voting booth. That part we could do. DS200, not send an extra one out that would just for that purpose.
And we're kind of thinking that they could possibly be using the curbside check-in book and not the curbside, not the one going to the line that they do doing the regular check-in. Because we will be providing an extra electronic folder out there for the curbside voting process. So that is not, it's not stationed outside. The person actually carries it there. They certainly use it to walk over to the individual as well.
When we had, so the April voting, April 28th, when they came, we had that set up here, out here. That was for someone either if they refused to wear a mask or were exhibiting some sort of illness.
They had a temperature, yes.
Or what if do we have anybody who refused to wear a mask back in April? Right. Well, hopefully that'll be the case.
So
could we just maybe explore the idea of having a separate voting booth, maybe for folks that,
I think that's
I mean, I know we can't replicate the setup, but at least we could have some means by we're making an effort to protect folks, And I understand we don't have all of those resources, but that seems like a potentially creative solution that we could use.
yeah, like I said, I think we can use the curbside voting book to check again, and we can set up a voting book instead of DS200 scanner.
we don't have enough. Just
Of what, voting booth?
No, I'm sorry.
Oh, yes.
Voting booths and that electronic book will be able to take care of them. We wouldn't be able to.
So you could segregate them for the most part until they have the ballot and put it in the scanner. So to walk over and do that and then
Yeah.
And there's sanitization after that.
Yes.
I guess.
I had, this actually was a little, on Thursday, I participated in the mayor's and city managers meeting, just giving them a general update, and conversation got a little bit heated about the masks. A few of the mayors, they said, if a person refuses to wearing a mask, they're not letting in their building. Well, we'll have things, we can't ultimately turn people away. They said, well, tough. I'm like, wait a second, this isn't my role. This is, the Constitution says you can't do it. So we're going to, Mark and I talked a little bit, we're going to reach out to the Secretary of State's office, try to see what kind of letter or guidance we can give them. We can explain to the mayors. We can only do so much as that last little piece about the scanner, where they have to do that. So some of these mayors, they just, my building, my rules, tough, they can't come in. We have to work through that.
Okay. Thank you. That's, so segueing into that, location update notices and mayor's feedback.
Yeah, just let everybody know that the notices did go out to all of the voters impacted by the moves. Hopefully individuals have started to receive those. Talk about that again with the Mayors and Managers Association, and as a reminder for you all, we did email out these changes to mayors, first council, to the state senators, the state representatives who appear on the ballot in Cabot County. So they reached that, as well as the two major political parties, to try to get that word out. The voter information guides will start hitting mailboxes at the end of this week, which will be another communication again that will show their polling place. So these individuals would actually get 2 letters from us, one actual letter and the voter information guide. Hopefully, the first being letter versus the standard bureaucratic postcard, maybe more effective.
I just want to say that my polling location changed, so I got a great letter from you guys, and I also got a letter from my council person. I'm hoping that, there's some problems, people are saying, hey, this is why they're doing it, and so forth. I did have questions. There was a report on Channel 19 about Euclid Park Villa and the residents there that, I guess there's 700 tenants there, and have expressed concern that their location was changed, and it was a concerning report, only because there were people in wheelchairs, and the outcome was, why are we, do we have to move? Why couldn't our facility, which apparently has some, I don't know, complex, why couldn't we have been made a designated senior location? So can you just explain a little bit about Euclid Park Villa and what that issue is about? We're always casting a headlights, but can you just share a little bit about that?
Sure. So a lot of this goes back actually to the spring. So the spring, Board of Elections received a directive from Secretary of State that we had to give, any senior residential aid facility that was a point location, we needed to move out of that. And in the spring, that was presented to us 1 week before Election Day. We had to move on 40 locations. We did it. And so now for this upcoming fall cycle, that same requirement for the Secretary of State is in place. What has been good is from the spring till now, the spring was an emergency situation, so did what you could just to get somebody where they could at least time. Now we've been able to go back, and some of those places have stayed where they are. Some of those other places that we put in a better location because we had more time to do it, make sure that they're safe and socially distant. One of the things that some of the individuals don't understand, like, because we get calls from some of the councilmen and ladies in the councilwomen on it, is how about just not that one building? Typically, a precinct is bigger than just that one building. And so if you can't create just a voting unit for that building because the surrounding people around there are also in the precinct, it is they're not allowed to come in. So you have to, and that was part of the thought process initially us coming out with, it's those outside who live in the precinct, like outside of that facility. So we have in that particular location, they got notice in the spring. They actually, we put them into a better location now for November. So the letter that you received, they also will hopefully have received or will be receiving that letter at any point in time now. And again, we've sent that to Mayor Duke as well as part of the council, so hopefully they will follow up.
They were aware that this was, were they going to take over? where is this was happening for you with our film?
Well, it happened in the spring, actually.
That's what I'm saying, so they were part of the conversation, or?
Yes, and in the spring, we actually, we did, it was tight, but we got on postcard in the spring saying, hey, even though in-person voting didn't happen, but they were notified in the spring. So now this is actually, another notification.
The new location is the best, safer location, is it a bigger location because of social distancing needs?
So it is, I mean, it is definitely a social distant, location. It will be safe compared to what's in there. I can't say because we couldn't use it if we wanted to.
The current location, just.
Their current location, I mean, it's socially distant, it is, but it will be safe for them to go to and it'll be okay.
I'm saying the current location is where they can move to, is that what you're saying?
The current location, yes.
Okay, so then I'm not just confusing.
Yeah.
But they're concerned about the new location.
I think that what I'm saying is that we can't say for sure that the new location, which is the location that we really have. We haven't done that with a thorough side-by-side comparison. The answer is no, we can't go there, so we just moved on, obviously. So, we can do that if you'd like, but I just.
No, I just wanted to understand why we made the move and, the new location is gonna be helpful. Okay.
And it's a school, it's a public school, so that usually those have good accessibility.
Thank you.
Close the registration, EIP voting.
Just had a question on the, go back to the mayor's, and their feedback, I don't have any delusions that this will solve everything, but I did want to suggest, and perhaps part of the conversation, I think it's a valid assumption that these cities are doing their own temperature checks and health checks at the doors of their building. And I think it would be reasonable discussion to have that if these cities are concerned about who's entering their building, if they would work with us and if they have staff available, they would grants we've received, and other things, we would potentially consider reimbursing for the cost of that staff. And I think if we're working together on these buildings where these mayors have the issue, somebody who tries to act out of math, it's going to be more likely and more consistent that our staff at the voting locations could be aware of this voter and be able to accommodate curbside, as opposed to if the city decides to turn someone away at the door, and the voter now hasn't even been able to communicate to board staff without going home and making a call, that they were turned away. So just a suggestion that if they'd like to work with us on safety and health checks on entering their building, we could work with them on potentially a reimbursement of the staff expense that that would entail. I know that won't solve all occasions, but it may help alleviate some of the concerns that these city buildings receive. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Frost. That's a good suggestion. Close the registration, EIP voting.
And just remind me that closed registration is this upcoming Monday, October 5th at 9 o'clock. We pretty much will have our full registration department here. We don't know what to expect for this election, and we will have security, county protective services officers will be here for the entirety of that window, so they will be here until 9 p.m. And then early in-person voting, that will start the following day, next Tuesday. And we're working with County Public Works to get the room finalized downstairs. Others are here today, and we're trying to do what we can to put up some additional barriers, thanks to things from ceiling grid and some other general plans to try to safely maximize the capacity of the room. So Public Works has been great to work with. So we've been working on that, as well as we do have our two voter parking lots that we will start advertising. One, Campus International, southeast corner of Chester area, and self-storage facility on the northeast corner. Those combined is, I think, just over 100 spots. This lot here will be primarily just for ADA parking, and then a section carved out for curbside. So we're getting there.
We're going to have tenting outside.
We will have tents that will go on Euclid Avenue from the front step, traveling eastbound to the corner of East 30th and Euclid, covering the sidewalk. And then another tent that will then go from that corner of 30th and Euclid to the exit apron of our parking lot. And that will be for get rid of vehicles, like a 6-foot wide tent. Typically, we do that in the last few days of the election. We're going to do it effectively.
Thank you. Any other questions? How about, we got the email Friday night, I don't know if you've had a chance or Mark's had a chance, federal litigation, the Secretary of State's office is supposed to reach out to our office.
Yeah, so I reached out a couple times over the weekend and finally today I emailed back from this morning for the meeting with the chief of staff for the Secretary of State's office, who informed me that their counsel, the Attorney General, will be in contact with our counsel to work through this matter.
What's the deadline on that?
Wednesday at 4 p.m.
Mark, you have anything to add? No. So I imagine, just a reminder myself, we probably should go to recess in case we have to meet again on Wednesday. I don't know that we will, but then we don't have to put notices out for an emergency meeting. That's my thought.
Yeah.
I don't know if we're gonna have to take any action. We might as well be in a position to. All right.
And I know our staff will do this, but probably will be in recess and so the notice requirements. If we are coming back, I would ask that everything be done. I think we would all agree with that.
Sure.
We want people to know if we're coming back.
Yep. Great. All right. Well, we'll wait to hear from y'all. I'm sure sometime in the hours ahead. And then I know we talked about this, Tony, and then certification. We're going to have to meet for the official.
Sorry, we have 9 new business updates here. You're putting that, but I'll go on it very quickly and talk about, I may need, Aaron Aronoff has reached out to me, the information from the Secretary of State's office, DOE, of just discussing the certification date for the upcoming election. I did give it a heads up that the director will be changing that date. We usually get 21 days, it will be 15 days, which is the first day, according to the ORC that we certify. And really the ORC says we have to start no later than the 15th day, we have to be done by the 21st day. We're going to be required to be finished on day 15. This is similar to what happened in 2016. It has to do with their anticipation. We do similar things here when we talk about dates for just our planning purposes, but in the event that there's a recount, what it does to their deadlines and having to report with it in the safe harbor deadline. So I think that it's all about getting done before then. I'll have more to report on this when the directive comes out. I talked to our staff. We've done it in 2016. I did my very best to express, I just explained what we have to do in that certification window.
Did they give a rationale for shortening the time? I don't understand why we would shorten the time from 21 days. Or will it be outlined in the directive?
Yes, it will be outlined in the directive, but it was just their, planning for if there is a recount that they have to administer like on a statewide rate, what that does to them to be able to report their final and the electoral.
Yeah, like with the recount window and how that corresponds with the electoral.
So I just made them aware of all of the tasks that we tried to get done in that window.
So I just want to get that out there with me.
So that's November 18th, and we'll be reaching out about probably not to be able to date. So.
Okay. Very good. Anything else on the new business or old business? Okay, hearing none, then we have the agenda. We have a personnel agenda on our docket today. I would like to go into executive session to consider the appointment, employment, and discipline of public employees.
I would ask that the motion also include discussing current and or imminent litigation.
Okay, we'll add that to it also. If there is a second, Mr. Wodolowski.
Second, thank
Just
you.
before we vote, to go on after, will we let public testimony if there is any before or?
I will ask Linda, have you received any other public testimony? I don't think there's anyone in the audience. course, are online, maybe, Linda?
You're on mute, Linda. You hear her talking from the hallway.
Linda, you're on mute. Hello.
She's not muted.
Hello. Linda.
My apologies, can you hear me now?
Yes.
Ms. Eisner did write in to say that she reserved the right for public comment. So, Ms. Eisner, if you are on the line, please press *6 to unmute yourself.
Hello. Was that Eisner? Hello.
Okay, then I take it she's not on the line. Thank you.
Okay, well, we're gonna go into executive session. We'll be coming out if someone wants to do it at the conclusion. We have a motion on the floor. It's second, Mr. Frost. We got it.
Yes.
Mr. Ronaldo, Hastings, yes. Mr. Chappelle?
Yeah.
Okay, we're gonna go on executive session and we'll be coming out. No. Yes. No, you don't have to. The reason you were here, and thank you, is if someone wants to appeal or something, they'll.